You are live. We are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live post-game breakdown of the Dolphins podcast for the Miami Dolphins 16-13 overtime win against the Washington Commanders in Madrid, Spain. And maybe the best thing we can say about this game is the Dolphins won. How about that, right?
Yeah, they did win. A win's a win.
Yeah, exactly. Joined us, as always, on the post-game show by Dante, Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on SI. We're going to break down what we saw and, as always, get through the chat portion of the program, as we like to call it. Before we get into it, my little spiel, promise it'll be 30 seconds. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. The podcast is available wherever you get your audio podcasts. And last but not least, check out all the written content for free on MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com, where today we had 4 or 5 stories regarding the game and different aspects of the game, including my thoughts on Mike McDaniel's very curious decision to go for the touchdown on 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line in a 13-13 game. Dante wrote about why what we saw today from Tua Tagovailoa is who he is. For better or for worse, that's who he is. So let me just be a more polite host and say, how are you, Dante? Welcome.
I'm doing good. I feel like it's the game is no longer fresh on my mind. I've had a rare opportunity to sit and digest a Dolphins football game before hopping on the pod to talk about it. So we'll see how this goes.
Did it give you indigestion at all?
A little bit. That game was not easy to stomach, if we're going to keep with those puns. That was too.
I see what you did.
How about
that?
Nice. But no, I mean, just two teams that didn't really seem particularly interested in winning on Sunday, and the Dolphins just happened to shoot themselves in the foot one fewer times than the Commanders did, and they came out on top, which it is what it is. It's a win. They're 4-7. Sure, I guess.
Yeah, and the Dolphins not going to their bye. Then they have New Orleans. Then they have the Jets, and more than likely they are going to be 6-7. But based on what we saw today, which was a lot different than what we saw against the Buffalo Bills last Sunday, it's still not a good team. The running game is good for the most part. Today it was bad in short yardage, which had not been an issue all season. The passing game is extraordinarily meh because it's usually short to mid-range. And if there's pressure on Tua, and this goes into what he is as a quarterback, he can't escape pressure. There were 3 sacks against him today on 2 of those. I'm going to say a lot of quarterbacks don't get sacked because they avoid the oncoming rusher. That was frustrating. Defensively, a lot more bending today than there had been. A lot more yards, I should say, than they did it maybe the last couple of weeks. Last couple of games. It was not a great effort. And if we're going to be honest about it, they were lucky to leave Madrid with a win.
Yeah, I mean, they were. Offensively, I think you run the ball well in between the 20s. You get down into the red zone. You can't run the ball. The passing game has just become so limited. And if you have watched these post-game shows all year, which I hope you have, and if you have, thank you. But you know that I've gone up here for 11 straight weeks and been like, run the football more and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. But like the passing game, obviously I'm fine with the number of passes that they're throwing, but there's just no juice in that passing game, like at all right now. The Dolphins have divulged to, we're just going to throw up bombs into coverage and hope our guy makes a play instead of trying to scheme open some players on some vertical concepts. They're like, we're just going to chuck it up and pray. And you know what? You don't have the facilities for that. And I love Jalen Waddle. Good football player. I think he's a very good wide receiver. It's not his game. Not to his game at quarterback either. And so that passing game doesn't give you a ton. But I don't want to be all negative. The running game looks really, really good. I know that they didn't do too hot in short yardage today, but I think, as you mentioned at the top, a bit of a blip on the radar. They've been very strong in that category throughout the year, so I don't want to get too worked up about that. Not a great performance individually today, but generally speaking, they've been better. And then the rest of the run game has just been incredibly strong. I thought we got a nice Larry Borum game. Don't know that I've
Yes.
said that at all this year. That might be the first one. Cole Strange got off to a really good start and then had a not so good second half. So I don't know that he's going to end up grading positively, but it was fun for a couple of drives. But overall, the run game is schemed well. Devon Achane's a star. Ollie Gordon was a high-end contributor today. So offensively, I think it's just a changing of the guard. And I wrote this in the story that I wrote about Tua that you can read for free on the website right now. This is a running football team. That's their identity. They are get downhill, try to win up front, and run the ball. And then Tua manages the game, throws some quick short passes, dices some guys up in the middle of the field, throws a nice bender to Jalen Waddle and let him run after the catch. That's the offense. It's not sustainable. It's the best that this team's going to do at 4-7, and they should lead into it if they're going to make some kind of miracle run, right? And to be the best version of themselves. And I think you got every piece of that pie in this game against the Commanders.
Yeah, and the areas, and I know some of the comments are coming of like me not giving credit, whatever. It is what it is. But again, among the breaks the Dolphins caught, they have a field goal kicker on the other side who couldn't make a kick from 50 yards or more. And these are commonplace nowadays. And then you had the muffed punt, which led to this very strange Mike McDaniel decision that we'll go over in a bit. And then you had that same guy, Mike Sanderstill, who was a kid out of Michigan, who I absolutely love coming into the draft. Also should have had a pick on the one deep throw that Tua had. It was into double coverage, and Sanderstill smelled it the entire way, almost like he was running the route coming across the field, and Waddle didn't get a hand on it. That was a clean drop by Sanderstill. And that drive, unless my memory fails, ended in a Dolphin field goal. So they certainly caught a break there. Yes, they caught a bad break when the officials threw an absolutely atrocious flag against Jack Jones on the DPI. That was absolutely brutal without question. And then, okay, so let's attack it. So this was not a fabulous performance against a really mediocre Washington team. And I'll give you another break. This will bounce off the Mike McDaniel decision, but Washington, after getting the ball back at the 3-yard line, got 2 long completions, 28 yards to Deebo Samuel, 25 yards to Jacoby Jones. They're now at the Dolphins' 40-yard line, 50 seconds left. Mind you, this is after the Dolphins called 2 timeouts because going for the touchdown instead of taking the lead wasn't egregious enough. Now you're calling timeouts when Washington has the ball with no timeouts left because you're thinking you're going to get a stop and get the ball back. In the meantime, you're helping their drive. Anyway, I digress. It's like 55 seconds left. It's 1st and 10 from the Dolphins' 40. Washington calls an inside handoff to Jeremy McNichols. What? That gained 2 yards. The next time they snapped the ball, there was 25 seconds left. They basically burned 30 seconds for a 2-yard gain on an inside run, which was complete. If I'm covering Washington, I'm going nuclear on that. What the absolute hell? But it helped the Dolphins because then Washington was reduced to 2 passes, one to our friend Robbie Chosen that almost was picked off, and then that chuck down the field where Minka had good coverage. Where, I'm going to say it. Yeah, a lot of the contact that was there, a lot of those times that's going to draw a flag.
Yeah. No, that's one of those where, like, I personally don't think it's pass interference, but they've called that pass interference a lot over the years. Yep. So, like, I don't know if you call that a break or good luck, whatever you want to call it. Like, when the play happened live, I was like, oh, that's going to be a flag. I don't think it's pass interference. Me personally, I don't think that's pass interference. And I'm happy the refs didn't because that I think would be a really soft call, but they call it like that a lot. So it's a good point by you.
And I'll make another point, and you tell me I'm wrong here. Human nature being what it is with officials. And by the way, spare me the crap for those on social media who are like, well, the NFL is fixed. But human nature being what it is, when you make an egregious bad call against a team, human nature is to find a way to somehow subconsciously, subtly kind of correct it a little bit. And I am going to say, if the Dolphins don't get that bad call against Jack Jones earlier in the game, that flag against Minka goes out. That was your obligatory, typical makeup call.
There's your what if for the game, right? What if they call PI there? Probably lose.
Without question. Yeah. Okay, so if you watch the game, more than likely you're familiar with the circumstances. And Dante, I want your take on it. For those who are not, Dolphins, after the recovery of the muff punt by Ethan Bonner, get down to a first and goal from the 6-yard line. It's now 4th and 1, minute 55 left. Minute 44 left.
Yep.
Washington out of timeouts, 13-13 score. Mike McDaniel said, hell with it, I want the touchdown. Handoff to Ollie Gordon, gets tackled for a 2-yard loss. My take is, what the hell are you doing not just taking the lead? Go ahead, Dante.
So I tweeted this when it happened. I would have kicked the field goal. And this is coming from somebody who is incredibly aggressive. I hate the buzzword analytics thing. But I very much tend to go with that side of the coin. I'm very aggressive. I like going for it on 4th down in situations where maybe conventional wisdom says not to. To me, this was less about playing the analytics and looking at the type of game that this has been. And I think this is where you have the ability to have your analytics and also have the football sense. I think so much of the negative conversations around analytics are because of decisions like the one that Mike McDaniel made, which are typically very rare. You don't see a ton of coaches typically do that. They usually do the opposite, where they make the cowardly decision instead of the over aggressive decision. So I would have kicked the field goal because Washington's bad. And generally speaking, I have been able to contain them from scoring points in this game. Have I done an ideal job? No, I haven't. And look, I'll play devil's advocate with myself here for a second. I understand Mike sitting there and going, if we don't get this, they get the ball at the 2 and we'll get a 3 and out. And then they have to kick back to us because we still have timeouts, and then we can get another field goal attempt. I understand where his head's at, right? It's not like I don't get it. I do. I just think it's a bad decision. And it's not one that I just don't think was in line with the type of football game that you were playing. If you're playing against the Buffalo Bills and the score is 35-33 or whatever it ends up being, you need a touchdown. And you're like, you know what? Josh Allen's on the other side. I'm not giving this dude a chance. We're going for it, and we're going to go win the damn football game. Sign me up. I'm in. Let's go. I'm in there. Marcus Mariota's on the other side. Okay? He's throwing the ball to Zach Ertz, who, God bless his soul, is 36 years old, can't run no more. His best receiver is Deebo Samuel, who's not really doing a ton for you. Take the point, take the lead. You almost lost anyway because your defense is bad. It's a tough one for me because analytically I understand, and I don't know what the model said. I know that ESPN said it was a go, but I don't love their 4th down model. I checked one that I like a lot that did not have it up. So I'm curious if the model just is so confused it didn't spit out because it's an automated bot. So it's Ben Baldwin's 4th down bot, by the way. But the point is that to me, just not a decision that was in line with the type of game that you were playing. And I think that that's very frustrating because it almost cost the Dolphins the game if the Commanders had an even average kicker who could make a kick, because 56 yards is no longer that challenging of a kick. And he had plenty of leg. He just pushed it, just like he pushed the first one. Yeah. So,
but here's my thing is, unless you're going to tell me you're Anakin, so ESPN, this according to my buddy Joe Schad from the Palm Beach Post, the ESPN analytics gave it a 3.5% higher percentage chance of winning, a win probability if you go for the touchdown as opposed to kick the field goal. My problem is, okay, your analytics, I am going to guess, is based on every single solitary situation like that with the same time, same number of timeouts, same yard, I know that. It does not take into account what players are playing, the way the game has gone, like you mentioned. I'm sorry, but the analytics, the percentage should not be the same, as you mentioned, if it's Josh Allen or if it's Marcus Mariota minus Terry McLaurin. So, and in this case, to me, it's and the worst that happens, if you kick the field goal, we're going to assume Riley Patterson makes it. It takes a touchdown. It takes a touchdown to beat you. Whereas you go for it and don't get it, then you lose with a field goal, and they should have lost with a field goal. So I thought it was brutal. Calling timeouts when you don't have a stop, the defensive stop, to me was adding on to the brutality of the decision making. But again, it wound up working out in their favor. And the Dolphins wound up winning the game. Quick, just round up for those who haven't been watching it as when we started this. Denver was putting the finishing touches on the 1916 win against the Kansas City Chiefs. And for the love of God, Nick, right now, who I think is a good commentator, will he shut up about the Chiefs and being the team to beat in the AFC for 2 seconds, considering they're 5-5? And can we stop with Mahomes being in the MVP conversation? That team is 5-5. Okay, my Chiefs fatigue syndrome rant is over. Elsewhere in the And so this is good for the Dolphins because if you're the Dolphins and you're looking at playoff possibility, and yes, we're going to do that. Yeah, I know. Slap your face down. You shouldn't do that, especially considering I'm saying the Dolphins are not a good team, but they'll still be 6-7 after 2 more games. And we will look at those standings in the AFC. You want a lot of teams with really good records to bring the rest of the field down to the Dolphins. So.
All right. Let's do an exercise real quick off of this playoff. I just pulled up the playoff picture on NFL.com. What is the percentage chance that they have the Dolphins make the playoffs?
4.7.
1.
Okay.
It's a 1% chance. They're currently 11th. They're behind the Ravens, who I think beat Cleveland. So they
beat Cleveland and Shedeur Sanders' NFL debut, for those who are clamoring for that.
Not great. The Texans are 5-5 now. They're also ahead of the Dolphins. The Chiefs are still ahead of the Dolphins at 5-5. The Jaguars went to 6-4 today. The Chargers are 7-4. The Bills are 7-3. Then you have the Steelers, Broncos, Colts, Patriots, all leading their division. It is a tough,
not happening, but we're still going to talk about it.
Tough climb, but we still will talk about it, of course, because they're technically not out. You're telling me there's a chance, 1%.
Again, to me, until the time comes, there'll be so much time after they're mathematically eliminated until either they make changes. Spoiler alert, they're not making major changes. And if you guys don't believe me, read all across national media. I've been saying this for a bit. Brace yourselves for the idea that Mike McDaniel will be back as the head coach in 2026. Ian Rappaport's kind of hinted that way. The Dolphins do not want to make a head coaching change. Stephen Ross really likes Mike McDaniel. And I also don't think they're moving on from Tua. And where I will give you the floor of what we saw from Tua today against Washington without giving away too much, because we do want folks to check out Miami Dolphins on SI.com. How would you synopsize your piece on him?
I think you saw the positives and negatives of who Tua is as a quarterback and where he's at this point in his career. He's not the same quarterback that he was even, I would say, in 2022 and 2023. It's different. He does not have the facilities to beat defenses in the way that defenses are playing the Dolphins right now, at least in the sense that he can be this dynamic, transcendent player. And so you can go to the story and read about the areas in which I think he's playing well. And I give him a ton of credit for the things that he does well. And I actually think that for this version of the Dolphins, this is an okay version of Tua to have. The question that I have is, how sustainable is this? How much does this affect your future? Is this something that you can roll with next year? That's my kind of problem, right? The analysis right now is Tua is enough to do what this team needs if they can run the ball and play opportunistic defense and create some turnovers and have some weird things happen. That's the formula for this team. That's the team that they have right now. And I think you saw the stuff that Tua does well and the things that he can't do as far as arm talent and mobility and blah, blah, blah. But that's pretty much been where he's at forever, really. I don't know that my opinion on Tua hasn't changed a ton. So it is what it is, but I think you got both ends of the spectrum today. And if he can keep the ball out of the other team's hands and he's still accurate and can distribute the ball to Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, and we go over all that in the piece, the Dolphins can at least be somewhat successful as long as they have the running game to support him and a decent defense.
Yeah, and his numbers were good. I mean, in terms of the completion percentage, it was 14 for 20, and that includes 2 bad drops by Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
so you look at
my bad on that one. I wrote a whole story this week about how he's good at catching the ball now, and he dropped 2 passes. That's my fault. That's my fault. That's on me.
And then you also wrote about Chop Robinson and how Anthony Weaver had the key as to why he was going to break out.
Look, at least that one wasn't my opinion. That was Anthony Weaver's opinion. I was just reporting on it. Maybe I jinxed it. Maybe that's a half jinx. I think I get a full jinx for the Waddle one. I think I get a half jinx for Chop maybe. The interesting stat real quick before we move on from Tua that I found, this was the fewest pass attempts that Tua's had in a Dolphins win where he started and finished since they beat the Bills in week 3 of the 2022 season. He had 18 attempts in that game. So interesting formula for you. Throw 20 passes, you win the game. It's the fewest he's thrown in his entire career, not just the Mike McDaniel era, even in the Brian Flores era. So interesting formula. And if you look, again, this is not groundbreaking analysis. If you look at his pass attempts this season, when he throws more passes, the Dolphins lose. All of his lower passing attempt games are ones that they win. Now, obviously, that's because they're running the ball well in those games, not because Tua necessarily stinks at all of those games, right? So there's a causation discrepancy, but just an interesting statistic to throw around.
Yeah, he can be very, very efficient if not too much is put on his plate. And if he's asked to do a whole lot of heavy lifting, the Dolphins are going to be in trouble. And we're going to find that out probably once they start into that final 4-game stretch of Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, and New England. We should give a major shout out to, Jordan Brooks had 20 tackles, so hat tip to him. I had somebody on social media talk about how he's got to be on pace for a record in the NFL for single season most tackles. He's not even on pace for the Dolphins record. So it's very impressive. He leads the NFL 125 tackles after 11 games. Very, very good stuff. He was very good today. I don't think he was anywhere near as good as he was against Buffalo, but he was very good. Jack Jones, major hat tip, completely sniffed out that kind of bad throw by Marcus Mariota over the middle to Zach Ertz for kind of the game clinching or the game winning interception. And apparently I was not aware of this, but his celebration after the interception was some sort of tribute to a soccer star in Spain. So props for that, for having the wherewithal to do it in the excitement of the moment. I wasn't aware of what it was. But this was very good. And if you saw the post-game locker room scene where Mike McDaniel was handing out game balls, and for those wondering, Brooks had one, Riley Patterson got one. Oh, I'm going to forget, aren't I? Jack Jones had one. There's another player had one, but I forget.
Probably H-N, right?
Micah Fitzpatrick. H-N
game ball?
And Mike McDaniel and Jack Jones got one, and Mike McDaniel did his Jack Jones, and all the team started chanting Jack Jones. Oh, and I want to go back. The other part is Chop Robinson. There was one play to me that encapsulated the issue with him. It was a 17-yard gain by Chris Rodriguez to the left side of the offensive formation, and Chop had the right edge on the play, and he just dove inside immediately, completely left that wide open.
How about the almost safety? That was
that was good.
Yeah, it was a good rep. So I saw him flash, right? Like I feel like there were so many plays where I looked up and it's like, oh, Chop beat that guy off the line. We're just not getting there. We're not finishing. And even because they converted on the following play, and I remember thinking, oh, Chop won off the line, and the right tackle just like pushed him along the pocket, and Marcus Mariota just stepped up and threw it right to the running back. And I was like, that's kind of what it's been like this year for Chop, man. He's got to figure out some type of move that is not I'm faster than you. That there needs to be some kind of inside counter, a spin, something with his hands, a club rip, like something, man. Like we got to get something going besides I'm just trying to run past the tackle that I'm next to, because it's too predictable, and it's very hit or miss, because if guys do block it, you're out of the play. Like you're gone. You're off screen whenever stuff is happening. So but I thought the rush on the safety was almost safety was nice at least. So not all bad for Chop, but definitely not the performance that you want to see from him.
No, and the biggest issue for me continues. He's a bit of a liability in run defense. And speaking of run defense, very nice to see that all three of our rookie draft picks all had one very noticeable play. Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers. That was very good to see. I know that puts a big smile on your face.
Yeah, buddy, dude. I'm so happy you scout. Like getting to scout those guys has been awesome. So they're coming into their own, man. Jordan Phillips playing better. I think he's been the most consistent of the bunch. Kenny Grant, I feel like, has like raised his floor so much. Now it's like, okay, can we tap into that ceiling a little bit? And so I think you saw that when he had a couple nice swim moves in this game. He got into the backfield on the first one, and then the second one they ran away from him, but he got into the backfield, ended up being a big play because unfortunately Zeke Biggers got pushed about 6 yards off the ball. But Biggers had his moments in this game as well, and he's a 7th-round pick. So if he does anything, I'm happy, frankly. Like, whatever you get from him's a bonus. So it's cool to see those guys get better. It really is, because they need them to get better, because they're going to be pieces of the team, probably at least 2 of them for the foreseeable future.
No, without question. No, that 3rd down stop for no gain by Kenneth Grant. That was big boy stuff. That was very impressive. We have to mention, and we're going to get to our chat very, very shortly. I do want to mention Juju Brents got the 2nd start again with Rasul Douglas out with foot ankle injuries, and there goes Juju Brents with an ankle injury, left the game, walked into the locker room with trainers, and that's the story of Juju Brents. He's a former 2nd-round pick of the Indianapolis Colts, and they got kind of tired. I remember speaking to Stephen Holder of ESPN when on Behind Enemy Lines, asking him about what the Dolphins were getting in him, and basically that's what he told me. It's like, basically every time you start feeling good about the guy, boom, there's another injury, and they've been wondering about that in Indianapolis. It's just strictly bad luck. Is he not taking care of his body the right way? The bottom line is, here we go again. And it makes it very difficult for the Dolphins to be able to rely on the dude, moving forward. He's good enough to keep on the roster, but it's not somebody that I would say all of a sudden, because last week he looked like a starting caliber cornerback in the NFL. That's what he looked like.
Yeah. It's just a tough break, man. I just feel bad for him at this point. Like, we're in I feel bad for you territory, because he didn't really have a bad rookie season with the Colts either. Like, his numbers weren't phenomenal, but they were fine. They were in the realm of what you'd expect for a rookie corner. Incredibly difficult position to play. Just got hurt, and then year 2 barely played at all. I think he played 2 games in year 2, and then they go through a scheme change this year and they cut him. And he lands in Miami. He finally gets a chance in Week 10. Plays great. I thought he was fine in this game. It wasn't quite as good as his Week 10 game, but I don't think he did anything too bad, at least off the broadcast tape, before he got hurt. So it seemed like he was settling in okay, and just really unfortunate, man. Feel bad for him. What I will say is I thought Jason Marshall had a couple of nice reps at outside corner when he came in for Brent, so could be something to watch out for if Rasul Douglas can't go again after the bye. But I would like to think he'd be back by then, but we'll see. But I thought Jason Marshall stepped in admirably in that role and it had a couple nice plays.
Yeah, I would think Rasul Douglas will be back after the bye. I think Austin Jackson will be back after the bye. And somebody brought up an interesting question in a mailbag on MiamiDolphins.com. Would the Dolphins consider the idea of moving Larry Borom from right tackle to right guard upon Austin Jackson's return in place of Cole Strange, who has been a bit up and down? My take was I think the Dolphins would rather not have changed the 2 offensive line spots immediately unless they see Cole Strange struggling, in which case they'll be like, well, it's not going to get much worse anyway, so let's put Larry Borom over there.
Yeah, it's one of those, I would do that, but I don't think the Dolphins would do that. That they are, especially under Mike McDaniel, I mean, they are just so big on everybody knowing the role. Every role is so complicated on the offense. We don't want to mess with that and change things. That's a huge thing for them. It's the reason we got 3 years of Tanner Connor. So it's the reason that they're not going to change Jonah from the left side to the right side, right? They're very consistent with that. So I'd be pretty surprised if they made that change. I do think it would be interesting if you are looking for a low value re-sign. I actually think Larry Borom as a 6th or 7th offensive lineman is fine. So maybe that's a future plan that you have, in my opinion. But I would be surprised if they did that in the middle of the seaon.
No, I would too. Again, unless it got really bad with Cole Strange. But no, I agree. But it would be nice if James Daniels got back at some point. There is no timetable. We don't know. And last, before we hit the chat, yes, Greg Dulcich is a major upgrade over Tanner Connor. Signed, Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
Okay, we are onto the chat. Why is it not showing up over here? Hold on. I got to take care of the people who take care of us. So we're going to start with SoCal Games and Collectibles 50. Sir, thank you very much for the donation. It is very much appreciated. Thank you both for your hard work and coverage of the team. Salute from SoCal. Even with a positive finish to the season, do you think it's time to get off the hamster wheel and rebuild this franchise? Why don't you tackle that one first, Dante?
Man, I've been trying to blow it up since week 4. I'm ready to get off the hamster wheel. If I was the owner of the team, everybody would have been gone in like week 5. I'm ready. I'll be honest, and I've said this on the show before, so if you listen, this is not a surprise. There's nothing that anyone can do this year that's going to change my opinion outside of like a literal Mighty Ducks miracle run at the end of the year. Like, my opinion is what it is. I think it's time. I think it's well past time. I think the issues of Mike McDaniel as a head coach and Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback and Chris Grier as a general manager have been well established for a long time. Chris Grier is already gone. I don't know that you have to necessarily get Tua off the team, but I think you need another player in that room who's a real competition, whether that's a first-round pick or a third-round pick or a free agent, whatever it looks like. And then for me, I like Mike, think he's a nice dude, think he has some positives. I've seen enough. My evaluation on him as a head coach is complete, at least in my mind. So for me, yeah, it's time to get off the hamster wheel. But I also agree with you. I don't know that that's going to be the situation that the Dolphins feel like they're in. I think they'll probably disagree with me on that by the end of the year.
Yeah. There's nothing that's happened. And the fact that they won today, even however ugly they won, is only to me another argument for Stephen Ross to run it back with McDaniel, Tua, and with Champ GM. And I feel so strongly in my belief that that's going to be the case that I have a hard time like wrapping my head of what would I do. Yeah, you're not winning the Super Bowl, I don't think, with this combination. And if that's the ultimate goal, then
I think to me, it's very strange that a game like this would make you feel better about those two pieces. Like, I think Mike designed a really nice running game. I thought he called some good plays in this game. But, I mean, mismanagement of the clock, the way they use timeouts in the first half, the way they use timeouts in the second half, you almost fumble the game away on the goal line by going for it on 4th down. I don't know how you come away from this game feeling better about McDaniel. And then Tua, I mean, you can't even throw the ball down the stretch of the game. You just go and run it 100 times in the 4th quarter, which is good because it's working, but like it's not a sustainable way to win in the NFL. You got to have a quarterback who rises to the occasion in these scenarios. And the Commanders stink. And you beat them by 3 in a game you should have won by 2 scores. I don't know how you feel better about the brain trust after the product that was on the field on Sunday. They got to win. Good for them.
They played hard and they got to win.
I don't know.
I don't know that Stephen Ross is going to look at the micro and look at the decision. I'll give you another one, and I forgot to mention. I forgot about this because it got overshadowed by the late decisions. First drive of the game, 4th and 1. You're going to go for it. You get a delay game. Right if the flag flies right before you snap and hand off the ball. What the hell was that?
I don't know.
Were you trying to draw him offside? Were you actually running the play? You can't get the snap off in time. I mean, Jesus. And to answer the question about to me it's so much simpler to blow it all up when you don't have a quarterback who's going to take up $54 million against your cap, and that's if you keep him, and if you dump him at 67 or 99 million, depending on whether you spread it out, that's painful.
I think the reason I'm so pro blow it up is less to do with Tua and more to do with the fact that I think one of the biggest problems the Dolphins have had in this era of, the last 10 to 15 years is you have people with different timelines in the front office and the GM, and you don't have so you have Brian Flores and Chris Grier, and they're working together. And so you keep Chris Grier and you get rid of Brian Flores, and now you bring in Mike. And now those guys, I want total alignment. I don't want they hire a GM and Mike McDaniel's forced on him. You have to take this job and Mike McDaniel has to be your head coach. That's going to create some butting of heads, especially, the GM's going to come in and he wants to be a GM in the NFL. And Mike's not the worst head coach in the world. And so I could see him sitting there and be like, yeah, I'll take Mike McDaniel. Sure, whatever. But if McDaniel starts off bad, are you going to, say the Dolphins start off 2-6 again next year? Are you firing Mike? Then what was the point of keeping him last year, right? And then that creates different timelines. If you do draft a rookie quarterback, you get him in with Mike McDaniel, and if things go poorly, you fire him. What if you get the GM comes in and he's like, well, I want a quarterback. And Mike's like, no, we got to stick with Tua. Now you're forcing Tua and Mike on the new GM. To me, this just creates so many more problems than getting rid of everybody, hiring a general manager and going hire a head coach and let him hire the head coach. You've tried to trade and then figure it out and pull people from this era and put them together and mash it up. It hasn't worked. Just blow it up.
I don't disagree with you, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So
no, I don't think it's going to happen either, unfortunately.
Matt, thank you very much for the donation. Just win, baby. Thanks for the streams. Yeah, good old Al Davis line from way back when. Remember, I don't know if you guys saw the John Gruden clip from Barstool where he said, "Mark my words, the Dolphins are going to go on a run. They're going to get themselves in the playoff picture. They're going to win their next games against New Orleans and the Jets, and they're going to win at Pittsburgh, and then they're going to have McDaniel a 5-year contract extension." I don't know, that was a little shot there at the end.
Ouch. Nah. I think Gruden's just trying to get me back because I said I didn't want him to be the Dolphins head coach.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for the donation. No, Waddle's hands had jet lag, some ugly drops. Not a wide receiver look at all. Yeah, that was not good. Blame this guy here.
That's my fault. I take full responsibility. Total jinx. We'll get it. We'll get him next week.
Brett, thank you very much for the donation, Brett. Sammy Smith had a good game today alongside Higgins. Sammy Smith alongside Higgins. I don't know if I get the reference. I'm
not sure either.
Yeah, Sammy Smith's a former Dolphin running back, first round pick in the 1989 draft. Is there another Sammy Smith I should know about? Brett, you're going to have to clarify because that went over my head. Brett, again, just messing with you, Alan. Great work.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. That's funny. Not easy, not difficult to get me going. Matt O'Lear, thank you very much, sir, for the donation. You've struggled to punch it in on the goal line, and your best offensive player just left the game with an injury. For the love of God, Mike, take the points.
Yeah. Thank you. Just not the type of game to be ultra aggressive. Points were at a premium here, and I hate saying that because that's such a old school mentality thing, and I'm so big on the analytics and all that stuff, but that was just not the time and place for it. Yeah.
And I generally I'm always one who go for it. That time to me did not make sense. Josh Smith, thank you very much, Josh. McDaniel is staying, Tua is staying, no QB in the 26th draft. Yeah, kind of, sort of. This man over here talked about it on the podcast on Friday. It's not a great draft class at all for quarterbacks.
It's okay. It's solid. We'll see. It's tough because we don't know who's going to be in it. If a few guys, if Dante Moore is in it and, Lenora Sellers is in it and these other guys in it, I think there's some talent for sure, but I don't know that it's tank for the number 1 overall pick quality, right? I think there are some good players, but I don't know that you have to force it this year, which you should go listen to the podcast. We went in depth on all that draft stuff. It was pretty good.
No more tanking. We don't like the tanking. Birthday Salami, thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Love 20, but so painful watching him cover. Jordan Brooks is not a great coverage linebacker. That's not his forte, but you can't argue about the fact that dude makes a lot of plays. And by the way, for those who keep wondering why Willie Gay Jr. does not get more playing time, there was a glaring example today where he just got wiped out by Zach Ertz. Yeah. On a play that resulted in a long gain where you should not get you're going to get blocked by a tight end. It's going to happen, but he got obliterated. That was just a really bad look. Yes, maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's always been his thing, right? Even when he was with Kansas City, the whole thing was we need to keep him clean and let him run sideline to sideline. If blockers get into his chest, it's the rep's over. He's that's always been who he is. And so that's why he's not on the field, and I understand why the Dolphins feel like they can't put him on the field. And honestly, I'm okay with it, given the way the defense has performed in recent weeks. Early in the year, my frustration was with, hey, why don't you try something different because you're so bad? But I think you've stabilized things enough now where I'm okay with Willie Gay not getting on the field a ton.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the play. There was a long Mariota run. And that long run was the biggest reason the Dolphins wound up giving up like 170 yards of on the ground, which is a big jump from what they'd given up. This is funny, actually. Pee Wee Herman could have coached a better game. That's funny. Should I do my Pee Wee Herman impression very quick? I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay.
That's funny.
I don't do the dorky Pee Wee. I
Man.
just do the sorry thing. Okay. Michael. Hi, I'm Dante. Thank you for the great show. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. We're gonna Andreas, first time on a live. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us. Black ball, the Dolphins get the TD. He's a genius. All worked out. I disagree. I still would have told you I didn't like the call.
Yeah, me too.
I don't play that. Yeah, I don't play. That's too easy to do. I don't do that.
No.
Toby, put your pictures side by side. I have no idea. If you're watching, I believe, if you're watching on a mobile device, you're gonna have me on top.
Yeah, you're up top on mobile. That's how it goes.
I don't control this. I'm not nearly technically savvy enough to determine that. I would be on the bottom. I don't care. I'm sure that's going to sound that. Andrea said that we had a come-down game after beating the Bills, but we still won an OL.
Yeah. Maybe you're not wrong.
Maybe they were flat. True Blazer says Mike has to go. Problem is the only person whose opinion really matters doesn't think so, because that person really, really likes Mike McDaniel.
Okay, so here's a question for you, since the chat doesn't have a ton right now then. What would have to happen to change Stephen Ross's opinion?
Well,
like how many games do they have to lose, right? Like what if they come out of the bye and they lose to the Saints? Non-competitive game. Saints win by 14. Dolphins finish with like 5 or 6 wins.
Maybe more so if they completely flop in the two, like not competitive flop in the 2 primetime games coming up, assuming that the Cincinnati game doesn't get flexed out. And I still think it will get flexed out, particularly with the Bengals losing today against the Steelers to go to 3-7.
Yeah.
3-7. I don't know that. I know Joe Burrow is back at practice this week. Are they going to shelve him? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
What do we got here? Andrea says, stop with the sideways passes. Oh, I think if that's your wish, I think you're going to be out of luck, my man. or young lady.
I wish they didn't do it so often after they have an explosive play. Like I can't prove it yet. I'd have to go through like hours of tape to figure it out. But I feel like every time they get like an explosive play, the next play is like a jet pass or a screen of some kind. And I'm just like, dude, you just had an explosive play. Call another one. Call another real play. Like, and they do that all the time, and it bothers the hell out of me. The other one that they do that drives me up a wall is when they get stuffed on 1st and 10, and then on 2nd and 10, they throw a screen behind the line of scrimmage. You need yards. Throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. That one drives me up a wall. That one's crazy. They do that all the time. Every time they fall behind the chains, it's throw a screen. Every time.
Yeah, and a lot of H-Han's running, not a lot, but some of H-Han's running yardage invariably will be like those backward passes, which count on the stat book as a run.
I mean, they had the one that he should have got tackled behind the line for like a 5-yard loss, and he turned into
a great play by H-Han.
Oh, it's a great play by H-Han, but like, what are we doing? You just drove right down the field. You're running the ball down their throats, and you're like, oh, let's throw a ball 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Why?
Yep.
For what reason?
That went in the books as a 9-yard run, but that was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, great play by H-Han. Yeah. Props to him. He did that a couple times. Good
okay,
play.
Brett's explaining it. Steve's Sammy Smith / Higgins. I believe, Brett, you mean Mark Higgs, correct? Equals Ollie Gordon to Devon H-Han. It's a 1990 joke. It's Mark Higgs. That's why you threw me off.
There we go.
Something like that.
T. Higgins on the 1990 Dolphins.
There you go. Gruden is on board with my silly 1990 theory. LOL. See, John Gruden's a what? Yeah, that thing has sailed again because again, Brett, they were 12-4 in 1990. They weren't like.
You have to add a few more games to the season.
Yep. Jim, thank you very much for the donation. Very much appreciated. Let's see what we got here. There we go. So the sideways succeed maybe 10% of the time, but they still continue with that. We didn't do much in Buffalo. Okay. Zane Baker says the crying over called screens is so old it has to average like 4 yards a pop. Nobody says a thing when it works and at a decent clip. Okay. Are we not allowed to? Zane, are we not allowed to cry about it?
I love screens. Screens are awesome. The Dolphins call screens when they can't, when they should not. It is not the number of screens that bothers me. It is when the screens are called that upsets me, because they called a great screen later in the game. They called an arrow screen in the red zone, and Devon Achane almost scored. They ended up getting stuffed on the ensuing play, but they have great screen game. Devon Achane's awesome in the screen game. I don't want them to call necessarily fewer screens. I want them to call screens when it's not so predictable that they're going to call a screen, if that makes sense. Because I know almost every time when they're going to call a screen, because it's when they fall behind the chains, because they have a negative run or a penalty, they immediately call a screen. Or when they have a super big play, they call a screen. Enough. Because they have a good screen game. They do.
Well, not only that, it's a good way to get the ball in Achane's hands. And I'm going to use a phrase that I think is so silly, but in space. But it's actually true because you're throwing it to him like near the sideline, and he is so dynamic in the open field that I don't mind it. To me, every once in a while though, they just overdo it. That's all. But Zane, by the way, we love you too, buddy. Matt Saunders, I'm not going to complain too much about 165 on the ground and 170 through the air. That's how it goes when all you have are Achane and Waddle.
I thought the ground game was great. I said at the top of the show, I thought it was great. They've been so creative. I am beyond overjoyed with the 6 offensive line usage, and the tight end usage has gotten so much better in recent weeks. And I think it's awesome. These jumbo packages, these big formations, and they beat the hell out of the Commanders up front, except when they got into the red zone and in short yardage situations, which is unfortunate. But generally speaking, I think the Dolphins' run game is awesome. I think it's really good. It's diverse. It's creative. They have implemented some really, really nice counters. They just had a really, really bad day on key downs on Sunday, which is important, no doubt. But they've been good at that the rest of the year. So I hope that they can put it together over the bye week.
It's kind of crazy, though, the thing that they came into this game having scored a touchdown in every single goal-to-go situation this season. They were 1 for 3 today. That's pretty wild.
Maybe
Brett,
the Rocks has jinxed them.
Yep. Brett, thank you very much again for the donation. Would McDaniel accept a demotion to OC? Probably not. You are correct. Probably not. That's the only one I remember in that, but I think there was a year gap. This idea of going from a head coach to being a coordinator of the same team is Vance Joseph in Denver. But unless my memory fails me, there was a gap, and he came back like after a year away to become DC, and now he's back to being a hot head coach candidate. And because that defense is really good.
I do think Mike will be successful if he gets another shot at a head coaching job, or if he becomes an offensive coordinator. I do. I think Mike has a lot of really good traits. I think at a certain point, though, like, there is so much noise in the scenario where he's at here. Like, I think he needs a reset. I think he needs to change the scenery if it's going to be raising his level, right? Because he's got to raise his level. You know, as much as there are so many things that I like about Mike, it hasn't been good enough in Miami. It just hasn't. And I don't think that's going to change here. But I don't know. I think him as an OC would be great, but it won't happen.
My pocket potato. That's an interesting handle. Going on 4th and 1 made sense. Probably Washington would have gotten the ball in the 35 after 3 points. Maybe it would have been forced to score, but because of the scores tied, they weren't concerned as much as scoring. But again, The problem is the Dolphins put themselves in the position where they were losing with a field goal against them. Had you kicked the field goal, the only way you lose then is through allowing a touchdown. By allowing a touchdown. And if you do that, then you don't deserve to win anyway. So, Toby, thank you very much, Toby, for the donation. I would love to see them pump fake a wide receiver screen and hit the wide receiver streaking on the sideline like a lot of college teams do.
Here's a fun fact for you. The Dolphins have given up 3 touchdowns this season on that exact play.
Pray tell, list them.
Baltimore, Buffalo, and LA, I think. Yeah. Off the top of my head. Yeah.
Interesting.
They covered one up today, though. I'll give them credit. The Commanders tried to do it early in the game. They faked a screen, and they had people streaking up, and Mariota threw it out of the end zone. So they covered it up today. So there you go. Progress.
There you go. Ricky points out, penalties are way down. Yeah, there weren't necessarily a ton. CCRR is another fun fact. Tua can't throw outside the numbers.
Outside the numbers, down the field. All those screens that I hate are technically outside the numbers.
CSA guys, why does Mike McDaniel keep throwing behind the line of scrimmage so pathetic and so sick of it? Yeah, because it's got like a long handoff. That's why he keeps doing it. It's a very safe play. He knows Tua is not going to spray the ball. It's an easy completion for him, and it gets your running back outside of the tackle box. So,
yeah.
Chuck, hit that like button, guys. Well said, Chuck. Oh, hold on. What? We're going to wrap it up pretty soon as the Sunday night game starts. By the way, it's Detroit at Philadelphia and Jalen Phillips. By the way, there were some Dolphin fans who were hitting me up on social media, I think, or in the mailbag, who felt that Phillips's comments about how he called getting traded to Philadelphia, the greatest day of his life or something along the lines, was taking a shot at the Dolphins. That's how the game is played, folks. If he's being traded to a different team, you want to ingratiate yourself to that new team and the fan base. So you're going to say everything is better like that. And if they ask him about the quarterback, he's probably going to say Jalen Hurts the best quarterback I've ever played with. And that would be a shot at Tua because that's now his new quarterback. That's kind of how the game goes. It's very, very rare that you're going to have a guy in this situation say I wish I hadn't been traded, but hey, this is my lot in life, so I'll make the best of it. And it doesn't happen. Even Minka Fitzpatrick, when he was brought back, guys, trust me when I tell you, his body language said I hate that I'm here, that the Steelers traded me. I absolutely hate it. Didn't speak for a while after the start of training camp, and when he did speak, he prefaced his media session by saying, I don't want to talk about Pittsburgh. I don't want to talk about the trade. I only want to care about the Dolphins and looking ahead.
Yeah. I mean, and to Phillips' comments too, I hate to be that guy, but the Eagles might be the best run organization in the sport. What do you expect him to say? The Dolphins are a mess currently. The Eagles are very good and have been very good for a long time. And Jalen Phillips has played in 2 playoff games in his career, off the top of my head, and they lost both. And he's got a chance.
He was out for the second one.
He missed the second one with an injury. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that was the Achilles tendon.
Yeah, so he's played 1 playoff game in his whole career, and the Eagles are going to be Super Bowl contenders again this year, barring a collapse. What do you expect the guy to say? I'd rather be in Miami? Come on.
Exactly. And he had said before the trade deadline that he wanted to stay in Miami. So it's not like once the trade is made, that ship has sailed. There's not a whole lot he can say.
Exactly.
Brett with the donation again. Thank you very much, Brett. It's very much appreciated. Not only the pump fake / streak, but how about some hurry up? It's maddening. It seems as if Tua never throws against the defense's miscues. Not exactly sure what throwing against the defense's miscues means.
I think the reason we don't see a lot of hurry up from Miami is because they like to get to the line and run a lot of different motions. They run a lot of subs on and off the field as well, especially now when they're using Daniel Brunskill as a tight end and they're using Julian Hill and Greg Dulcich on the field at the same time. And so When you run hurry up, it's very hard to substitute because if you substitute, the defense also gets to substitute. And typically you can't really run the hurry up when you do that because that slows the game down. So I think that's why you don't see it. It's hard to like call out different motions and move guys around the formation and do all the things that the Dolphins like to present to the defense pre-snap. You can't really do that in the hurry up. It's very difficult.
You mentioned Brunskill. I don't know if you guys noticed, not just you, Dante, but everybody watching. The Dolphins opened not only with Daniel Brunskill as a sixth offensive lineman, they also had on the field for that first snap Julian Hill and Greg Dulcich. You want to talk a Uber jumbo package.
Never been happier. Should be the base formation.
Man, okay. Jim Hall, thank you very much, Jim. Much appreciated. Dante wasn't the jinx today. The announcer just said the Dolphins are 13 for 13 in the red zone. Dolphins proceeded to get stuffed.
I'm off the hook. You'll love to see it. Saved by the bell.
Andrew's on back. Andrew, buddy, how you doing? Thank you very much for the donation. Don't have to worry about Tyreek during the bye. That's not very nice. Tyreek's tweeting about Patrick Mahomes taking deep shots today. I don't know if you guys saw that. Brett, again, thank you very much. Reacting to DB mistakes versus throwing to a spot. I got you. Well, the idea of the Dolphin offense passing game is to get the ball out quickly, usually to a predetermined spot where the wide receiver is supposed to be and where Tua expects him to be, and that's where the connection here. Joshua, I'm not going to complain too much about an ugly win in Spain. If we want to complain, we can talk about the Indy, Carolina, or Cleveland games. LOL. Good win today. It was a win. I don't know if
it was a win. No, they're 4-7.
You play to win the game.
Here we go.
Charlie, Dante, don't talk up McDaniel's town only to then say Dolphins need to cut him. One of the objectives is to have a long-term solution that QB and head coach both have been missing for decades. What?
I think he's upset.
Because you were singing his praises, but then you're saying they also need to blow it all up.
I think it's very easy to say that there are things that I like about Mike McDaniel as a coach. I don't think that he's like a terrible coach, and also say that I don't think it's going to work in Miami and the Dolphins would be better served picking a different head coach. I think both of those things can exist. A lot of head coaches are more successful as coordinators, and a lot of head coaches are better if they get a second opportunity to be a head coach. Should the Jets have just held on to Todd Bowles forever? He had like 9 wins in New York. They should have just held on to him forever because he eventually became a good coach with Tampa Bay. No, like those things can exist. Todd Bowles can have some good traits, and he needs time to figure some things out and get another opportunity before he can be good. The Jets had to move on. The Dolphins are in a similar boat. There are things that I like about Mike. I don't think it's going to work in Miami.
Okay. Toby, thank you very much. I had as many targets as NWI did. Shake my head. I believe you did. I don't think he was targeted once. Let me double check. I have the game book there in front of me.
Can't think of one.
Nope. Was not targeted once.
How many different receivers got targets today? Wide receivers, not tight ends, not running backs, receivers.
What's your guess?
2.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Malik Washington, Jalen Waddle. That's it.
Yeah, not great.
No, not great. And here's the thing: is I know McDaniel likes his wide receivers to chip in the running game with their blocking, and I think that's what he's praised NWI for. I believe that's part of the reason he brought back Cedric Wilson Jr., who had to be signed off the New Orleans Saints practice squad, who has made a microscopic contribution. And it's the same thing right now with Andre Carter, too, who the Dolphins signed off the Detroit Lions practice squad. Still to my surprise, because I thought Quentin Bell would get the nod, but I guess they see something perhaps for the future. I don't know. You know what? That's going to wrap it up. We're closing in on just about an hour. That's going to do it. Guys, thanks again so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. I'm going to go set up and watch this Sunday night game between the Lions and the Eagles. Go Lions, because I have a little bit of Eagles fatigue. Not quite as severe as my Chiefs fatigue syndrome, which really, really is acute. And I love the fact that they're 5-5. But I have a little bit of Eagles fatigue syndrome as well. Enough of those two teams already, please. So go Lions. more importantly, go Dolphins, big win today. Or a win, 16-13 in overtime against the Washington Commanders. We'll be back here tomorrow. Probably talk a little bit more about the game and the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in and joining us. He is Dante Collinelli, deputy editor of Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Check out his fine written content for free on the website at Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Please like, comment, subscribe, share all that good stuff, and get the audio version of the podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts. On that note, thanks everyone.